just under the wire.
Back on the dot. Functionality.
3-2. Okay, please stand for the pledge. Okay, Cindy, can you please do the roll call?
Acting Chair Gorski,
Here.
Rebecca Anderson. Here. John Coltress.
Here.
Joseph Keefe.
Here.
Lawrence Christmas.
Here.
Michael Reinhold.
Here.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the planning board for the town of Lancaster. This is a meeting of the planning board for the town of Lancaster, and please be aware that we are an advisory and recommending board and not a final decision-making body. I think you all have a copy of the minutes. Please give it a review and see if there's any adds, changes, deletions. Sydney bet 1,000 again. If we have no comments, anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thanks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Good job, Cindy. Okay, now if you would like to take a look at your communications list, you should have all on your desk in front of you. Questions or concerns on the communications list? Okay, I guess we can move on to our first item on the agenda. That would be project number 1834, Group Minor Subdivision Preliminary Plat.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm Ralph Larigo. I'm an attorney and I represent Lionel Roop. I appeared before this board both on November 15th and December 6th of 2023. On November 15th, I was told that the zoning had been changed in this parcel so that it now requires 300 feet of frontage and 3 acres. This is a tax map of Ransom Road and the 40 parcels that are surrounding this property. Not one of these parcels meet the new zoning. Now, half of these parcels are only 100 feet, and the property that we're asking to subdivide is 115. And not one of these parcels meet the, like I say, the new code at all. You know, the property obviously was sold a few years ago. He maintained, the buyer did not buy the extra lot. The assessor, your assessor, has assessed this property as a vacant lot, or as a buildable lot. That's what the code is. And it's assessed at a value of over $60,000. So what Lionel is simply trying to do is sell the property. So the buyer has told me that he went to the zoning board, because that's what we were asked, that he went to the zoning board. He had prepared this map to be able to show where he was planning to locate the house, and supposedly asked for the variance. That's what he told me. But he was told that because he wasn't the owner of the property, that they sent him away. even though he had the authority, he had the contract, and he certainly had the authority from Lionel to go there. So I'm back here again. And so what I'm asking is that you would consider approving the minor subdivision conditioned upon getting the variance. So if this buyer can't get the variance, then obviously we're going to look for another buyer who will build a house that will be able to get the variance. But leaving this open leaves my client in a situation where any buyer doesn't know if it's going to be a buildable lot. We've paid close to $1,000 just for the application fees to do this minor subdivision, even though it's on a roadway and adjacent to this parcel. I understand that it's going to need variances, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But I ask that this board finalize it so my client doesn't have the continued cost that's involved. Plus, there's a court case that's been going on now for a couple of years that my client has to pay to defend with regard to this matter. So I would like to get it accomplished if I can. I'm certainly willing to answer any questions you have, provide you with any information you want, but it seems really clear-cut to me. So you have this map, and so there's this property that was sold in this 115 feet by 1.5 acres. It's not a small parcel. It's 115 feet by 1.5 acres. And every single parcel along that road is roughly this size. Half of those parcels are 100 feet.
Well, I'll start by saying, I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but the code has changed and the dimensions have changed.
I understand the code has changed. It kind of amazes me that the code would change to 300 feet when 40 parcels alongside of this, existing parcels, 40 parcels, every single one doesn't comply with that zoning. There isn't the possibility of complying with that zoning. There is no possibility to comply with the new zoning.
There is if you don't subdivide it.
If you want to buy 2-3 lots and tear down the houses, and then you still got to have 3 acres.
We can't, this board can't change history, okay?
I understand. I said I understand the variance.
Showing me history here, and we have a new code, and the code says this, and it says that the lot needs to be this width. The way around that is to go for a variance. So why won't the present owner pursue the variance if he wants to sell the lot? Why does the buyer have to pursue the variance?
Because the buyer is the person that's building the house on the lot. So he's the one that locates. You can't just go there and say, I want a variance for a buildable lot. You have to be able to show where the house is going to be located and what other variances, if any, you might require. It's not just that, okay, I want it to be a buildable lot.
If the house will fit on the lot,
It will.
within the side yard lots, or within the rear yard lot, within the front yard lot, then the house fits on the lot. Shouldn't matter if owner A, B, or C, or D is the owner.
So, can I,
Yeah.
all right, if you were to get our blessing to go conditionally on a variance, the
Right.
plans that you have already, you're allowed to go to the variance board with that assumption, even though you're still not the owner? The
So
problem was you got kicked out because you're not the owner, right?
you can go to the variance, you can go get a variance being a contract purchaser.
Okay.
Why he was turned away, I don't know, but certainly I've represented many contract purchasers in zoning, and they have every right to do it. They have to have authority from the owner, which he had. But again, my request is that you look at the situation from a planning board perspective, and from your perspective, the question is, all I'm asking for is a minor subdivision.
No,
The lots are subdivided. Your assessor has given a separate tax bill and called it a buildable lot, and it's assessed at over $60,000. Now, we sold it for a lot less than $60,000 because of all of this. But this request is simply for a minor subdivision. And it doesn't end the situation. any buyer who's going to build a house there is going to require a variance. But
Yeah.
it's not necessarily true that you have to have the variance before you have the approval of the minor subdivision map. This is a question of whether or not, if you weren't to grant the minor subdivision map, if you say no, what happens to this owner? What does he do at that point? Do we go seek a reduction in the assessment at the third week in May over here because it's you can't do anything with the lot?
I would assume.
It doesn't make logical sense to me that you wouldn't conditionally approve this. And certainly, you need to be protected in terms of whatever a buyer wants to do. So if a buyer wants to put up, and in this case, this is what this buyer had planned to do. So there's an acre and a half. There's some wetlands in the back, and so he's planning to put the house in the front, and that's he wants to build a ranch house. So he went to get the variance. But if for any reason he was
Strictly for
denied,
the frontage? Or is there other variance? I can't remember, I'm sorry.
he
variance is-
dropped off that map to me.
The lot's not wide enough.
It's just the frontage, right?
I think so.
Road
There-
frontage and square footage?
The frontage is 115 feet.
Right.
Yeah, but that's one of the variances.
One of the variances.
And the second variance?
Would be the acreage.
Size of the lot.
Oh, because it's not 300.
It's not 3 acres, it's an acre and a half.
Gotcha.
And then whatever you're going to build, depending on what you're going to build, whether you need anything.
Okay.
Okay, so let me stop 1 second. And Emily, maybe you don't know this answer. Do you have any idea why, if what Mr. Larigo is saying is correct, why a variance wasn't?
Seen, not given,
Offered.
but seen. It wasn't even heard, right?
Yeah, they sent him away. That's what he told me.
Do we have the minutes from the zoning board, or did you get a,
I don't. He gave me this a few months ago and then called Lionel, because I don't represent him, called my client and said they sent me away. They said either the lawyer has to come or you have to come.
Did he actually appear at a meeting, or was this when he was going to apply for the variance?
My understanding was he was at the meeting. That's my understanding.
I don't.
Now, Matt says he's not sure of the application, but that's my understanding.
The application was never received to
Okay.
hold a public hearing.
Yeah, I don't recall him being turned away at a meeting.
It was
so-
not at a meeting, there may have been at application,
Okay.
but an application has not been submitted. But, I can understand the analogy of making the buyer go through that, but the reality is this project is in front of this board for review. It needs to become compliant to the zoning code. 4 years after the appearance ticket was issued. And we have to make this lot compliant. So making the buyer make application, that's, whoever has to make that application, eventually it's gotta get,
Yeah.
it has to be heard, a decision's gotta be rendered, so this board can properly approve or deny a request for minor subdivision.
I mean, you're asking us, with the new code, you're asking us to approve a non-conforming lot, which means it needs variance. And I can't vote to
Yeah.
approve a non-conforming.
That's not the way I see it. So all I'm asking for is a minor subdivision. That doesn't approve anything. It doesn't make it a buildable lot. Your code is what makes it a buildable lot. All we're doing is subdividing it from the parcel that was there, which your town has already done over these 4 years. We've paid taxes on it. So that's all you're doing.
So now granting it as a subdivision makes it, in the moment, non-buildable until you get a variance, correct?
That's right. So it's non-buildable. You approve the minor subdivision map, it doesn't make it buildable, it doesn't change anything. All it does is relieve Lionel from the court case and separates the property the way the assessor has already done it. And then, to make it buildable, when someone makes an application, so it's no different than if I had a scrub lot, and I went to Matt and said, I want to build a house on the scrub lot, he's going to say, well, you have to get variances. It's no different than that. It's just a lot that some individual owns. Whether it complies with your code or not is something that's subject to your building codes that your code enforcement officer would look at. But it has nothing legally to do with simply separating two pieces of land. That is what a minor subdivision is. It's separating two pieces of land. I'm not asking you to approve a subdivision map that says all these lots are approved. You're simply separating those two pieces.
Why would we approve a subdivision if the lot can't be used for anything, or if you can't build it?
So tell me what the alternative is.
I just did.
You did.
Get the variance.
Or combine the two lots again. There's two ways to go. Try to go back to the variance, or,
It sounds to me like they must have went in to put an application and somebody was saying you can't do it because you're not the owner. That's a lot different than being on the agenda and having the board tell you you can't do it.
Like I said, there's a court case that's been pending for 4 years because they violated the client. The court, in looking at this, has said, I understand what the issues are, what the problem is. I'll give you plenty of time. And they've given me, obviously, a great deal of time. They've been very, very courteous about the time. Because the way they look at it, well, it only makes sense. This is subdivided. And your assessor has already said yes. So, look, if you turn me down, that would actually, I could then get it resolved. I mean, I got to have a solution to this thing. And, you know, I've got a court case going. I've got to go back into court next month. And what am I going to tell the judge? You know,
Well, when's the last time you were here?
I was here in November and December.
Okay, so here we sit in May.
I get it. And in the meantime, what you told me was somebody needed to go for a variance. The buyer, you know, tells me he went for the variance. And again, if this buyer for some reason can't get a variance because they don't like the house that he's going to build, then I got to sell it to somebody else. But how, you know, until I find another buyer, what do I do?
They're not going to tell you you can't build a house if it fits within the buildable area of the lot.
If we were to, have we ever approved a subdivision with a stipulation like that? That a proposed buyer gets a variance and is able to go through the purchase? Meaning if this purchase with this specific buyer does not go through because of the variance, the subdivision divides, like it dissolves?
So if you were sitting on the zoning board of appeals and I go there and just say, I want this to be a buildable lot, they're going to say, and rightfully so, what are you going to put there?
Of course.
Okay, so I need the buyer. So I didn't have a buyer for quite some time. Now I have a buyer. And again, that buyer goes to the ZBA and gets turned away. But suppose the buyer goes there and the ZBA doesn't like the house for whatever reason, then I have to find another buyer. But does that mean this stays open forever until I find the right buyer that meets whatever the ZBA?
Well, the zoning board, again, if they're going to grant the zoning, it's going to be for the frontage and the acreage. It's not going to be for the house, as long as it meets the requirements to how close it is to the property lines, if they're going to grant the variance. But my question is, if we offered a subdivision with the stipulation that the variance be granted with a buyer that hasn't bought yet but plans to, provided they get the variance. If they do not get the variance and the sale does not go through, then this all dissolves?
Then we have to find another buyer.
Is that too many things to write down?
I mean, if you don't have a condition and it doesn't get met, the town board would then deny the application.
So
But
it,
it would appear at least that this has not come before the zoning board.
It
That
has
was
not.
turned away.
And-
And someone should go there with a hammer at the application desk and say, you have to accept this, you can't just turn us away. The zoning board can deny us the variance, but,
They have to listen to it.
right. And everything about the zoning board not having heard, the zoning board has never heard this. Somebody turned down an application. Get in front of the zoning board.
yeah, rather than go through a conditional approval, bring us either an approval or a denial by the ZBA. If it's denied,
So tell me this, if it's denied, isn't this still just a vacant lot that, can't be built on, but it is subdivided from the other parcel?
Illegally.
illegally,
It's subdivided illegally. It's an illegal, non-conforming.
And that's why I'm here.
Did not receive a town board approval
Right.
for minor subdivision, even under the old code when it was conforming, still required a town board approval prior to creating a new tax parcel.
Right.
Now, it's been argued, the assessor claims that this is a buildable lot because of an assessment, but the assessor is required by law to put a value on that lot regardless of whether it's a buildable lot or not. The discrepancy is the filing happened without town board approval,
right,
and the assessor has to put a value on it. They cannot just delay it or wait or have a parcel
Yeah.
without a value on it. The assessor has no approval authority or zoning compliance authority. They simply have to put a value on a property based on market value.
Right.
Whether we did this 4 years ago when it was a 1 acre lot as the minimum standard, or today is a 3 acre lot as a minimum standard, that's besides the point. The fact is that it was created illegally, it was filed, the assessor did their job, we did our jobs. The courts are trying to get this resolved, but the process is we're requesting minor subdivision. This board has to review the information for conformity to the land use requirements. Today in 2024, unfortunately, it doesn't meet those standards. The section right above the subdivision regulations states you will not create a non-conforming lot. So we have to get past this application. It's, I believe, it's still on the owner, the current owner's responsibility to make application to the zoning board of appeals so his project can be approved and then transfer sale to whomever wants to purchase it.
And the last time I was here, in November, you told me not only do I need to get a variance for this lot, that the owner of the lot that he sold needed to get a variance.
it's not conforming.
So,
I'm sorry, but until you can show us in writing that the zoning board of appeals has said, yes, we will,
to me, the reasonable solution is to grant it, because it's logically there, it's conditioned upon, getting the variance. So,
But then
if you're not going to do that, that's
if you
totally
don't
up
get
to
the
you.
variance, where does it leave us? Leaves us,
Again, if you go in front of the zoning board of appeals, you have to have we got to have something that we're going to put there. That's what they're going to want. This guy went there. I see,
Did he stand in front of the board and present his case? No. He may have said, I have an application, but until you stand in front of the zoning board of appeals and you present whatever you have, and then you wait, and eventually sometimes they table it till they can go look at it, whatever. And until you have a variance in your hand, it doesn't matter that he went. He didn't get, or he wasn't specifically in writing, so he was denied. And I can't feel comfortable doing a condition, because conditional things hang out there as long as this has been going on. How many conditional things have you got in your files? Too many. So, you're asking us to approve a subdivision of land that creates two non-conforming lots. And we just,
okay.
and again, the assessor,
This May, I'll go and ask that the assessment be reduced, and we'll have to, you tell me what you want me to do.
so just make sure.
I would go, I would go through with the variance process, try. It seems like if we approve it on condition, or if you get it, it's the same steps. It's just cart before the horse or horse before the cart. And you get it, you come back here, if you have two lots that are like the variance is there, I'm for it. I'm only 1/7, but yeah, it makes sense. I looked at the map. There's 40 other houses. I get it. But, you know, like, I don't know, there's no difference if you're doing it conditionally on the variance, if you do the variance first, and that makes everybody else warm and fuzzy. And that's the process.
Does the existing house that's on the other non-conforming lot comply with all the minimum
No,
setback?
there's not a house on that whole street that complies.
Does it, you're not listening to what I'm saying. The lot, right now you have one big lot that was split into two.
Right.
You're asking to build a new house on the one lot. There's an existing house on the other lot.
Right.
Does the existing house on the other lot meet all of the minimum setback requirements?
At the time, because the zoning changed after the sale, at the time of the sale, Matt, the house did meet all the codes.
Yeah, it was conforming.
Yeah.
So if it meets all of the side yard, front yard, rear yard setbacks, there's no reason why that variance for that lot would get denied.
I can't-
It was legally conforming in 2019 with relation to the existing land use regulations.
How,
When it was made known that the parcel was split without approval, we went through the process of endorsement, and we ended up in a court setting. We're at the penalty phase. It's a state of enforcement at this point. So it's been lingering in the court system for 4 years. And again, since then, the zoning changed. And we're still trying to manage through an application to approve a minor subdivision, 2 lots. We're trying to create 2 lots. And in 2024, the standard is 300 by 3 acres. So, I strongly recommend, I appeal to this current owner, please make the application at the town clerk's office for his project so that he can put it on the market for whomever wants to purchase it and do whatever they do. This is the owner's project. It's not a potential buyer. It's not the owner's 7 owners down the road. This belongs to Lionel Group today. It was split illegally. And he's in the court system. I mean,
first of all, the owner of the house is not in the court system. I have no control over the house. I have no control over that individual who owns that house. So I only have control over this particular lot.
Yeah.
So hopefully you're not asking me, as you did in November, to consider having that owner also have to get his variances before you would move. I have no control over those people. And again, at the time it was sold,
So you're
that would have been in compliance.
You're representing the proposed buyer?
No, I only represent Lionel Rupp, and I did not represent him in that sale.
So he's already sold the house that's existing?
He sold the house 4 years ago. He sold the house 4 years ago. They didn't
Yeah,
buy
I
the
remember In
lot.
December, I remember it.
And so, at the time that he sold it, that house would have complied.
But it wasn't gone through the process of approval. For it.
But-
So because it wasn't through the process of approval, they're trying to straighten it out now, but the.
But one of the things you,
So Rupp currently doesn't own the house or the parcel
right,
with the house.
right, I can't do
But he
anything.
still owns the parcel,
The vacant lot, right.
I got it. That was a little unclear.
You had asked me in November that I needed to get both variances.
Yeah,
It's
and the
it's impossible
justification-
for me to, go force somebody to go get a
Yeah,
variance.
no, that makes sense. But you do have control over somebody going in front of the zoning board of appeals or for the variance to get approval to put a house on that lot.
Is it that they wouldn't see this because the division is actually still in question? Is that the possibility of the
The
reason?
ZBA, you mean?
Yeah. Or was-
I wasn't there. I only talked to the buyer at the time that he told me, because he went to my client and lowered the price again because he said they wouldn't even listen to him and he's waiting for all this time.
Yeah, I don't, that's a, that's a law question, I would
I mean,
say.
it sounds like your client, Root, needs to go for the variance.
They really, yeah, really,
He
When my
owns
client
the
goes for a
property.
variance, the zoning board is going to ask what you're putting there. It's not just
You have
because,
a plan. He can take that plan and say, this is what's going. I don't understand why he can't take exactly what your current prospective buyer is going to take. He's just on behalf of the buyer.
okay.
Zoning comes back, then I think really honestly, that's a, doesn't make sense for us to even waste time. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
In my, like, again, 1/7, if the zoning board comes back with, okay, because of the fact that this was 4 years ago.
And you see,
of
that's
that-
all I'm asking, is that once, if it gets approved, that this board's approval is already there. And,
That's not, I mean, that's, again, that's not like,
okay,
You know,
if you don't do it, then you don't do it.
process of law, yeah.
I've been doing this work for over 40 years, and I've seen it many times that there's conditional grants.
We've been-
If you don't want to do it, that's certainly your prerogative.
It's been frowned upon by our town board to approve things with conditions.
All right, I don't want to waste any more of your time.
So we, since it's on the agenda, we have to table it? Okay, can I have a motion to table the RUP project until they figure out if they're gonna get a variance?
yeah, motion to table.
All those in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carried. A variance.
Or decision.
Get a decision, excuse me, thank you. Wasn't get a variance, it was get a decision. Okay. Thank you. Turn that off.
Okay. That one's behind us. How about project 2440 East Point Commerce Center site plan presentation? This is the one for the 6 new industrial warehouse buildings. All right, that's what we have on our.
Is that coming on the?
That's
TV?
correct.
Oh,
Yes.
awesome.
Trying to work on
Putting pressure on you now. This makes life a lot easier though than bringing the boards.
You'd rather
Where you say that?
than carry boards, I'm sure. Even
saying
though-
that,
Even
but
though the
it's-
weather's nice.
Until it gets up and running.
Yeah, it wasn't historic, it wasn't.
Just didn't feel like doing it.
Cindy was busy taking notes on the previous.
It was the, it was the.
Okay, so while she's pulling that up,
Yeah, I can kind of start off.
you were here once before, and we had a couple of questions, concerns. Appears like you made an effort to address those concerns.
We'd like to think we did, yes. I can walk through that. Do you want me to walk through any of the presentation again, or?
Yeah,
just
let's just wait and see.
Okay, I was just going to give a quick high level, just
Okay, go ahead.
refresh everybody, and
Go
then
ahead, that's fine.
we'll go through that. Yeah, just that PDF. Perfect. The bottom one, yes. That'd be great. Okay, so as we go, Kevin Kirk, Director of Planning and Design with Uniland Development. Here to kind of continue our discussion for site plan approval for our 6 proposed warehouse industrial buildings at Eastport. Quick summary, Eastport, 128 acres of land that we own. This development is proposed to be a little over 11 acres in the red outlined site on this aerial plan. If you go to the next one, please. The buildings are smaller industrial warehouse buildings. We're targeting professional contractors, startups, small businesses looking for storage space. Next one, please. 6 buildings total, ranging in size from 13,500 square feet to 24,000 square feet. Total area of approximately 111,000 square feet. Typical unit sizes will range from 1,500 to 3,000 square feet. We are proposing to do this in 2 phases, where we'd build the 3 southernmost buildings first, and then as it leases up, we would continue on to build all 6 in total. Site information quickly, 80 car parks we're proposing. We have 36 additional spaces that we've dotted in for future parking if that's needed as We've heard concerns in the past about some tenants requiring a little more parking, so we have built that in for future if that is needed. We have, let's see, if I go back to some of the comments from the last planning board meeting, I think I'll try to cover most of them. If I missed any, hit me with what I missed, please. But one of the comments was to add additional landscaping along the northwest corner of the site. And if you hop into that next one, we did wrap that, quite a bit of additional space around that northwest corner. So we've covered that. There was a comment made to maybe increase the amount of oak and maple trees. We've added 3 maples and 4 red oaks to the site plan. I know one of the big sticking points is the curb cuts along pavement. If you remember last time, we were asking for 3. We do understand that's a concern of everyone. We've removed 2 of the 3, but we're still asking if you would consider the 1 individual curb cut in the middle of the site plan. Just for reference, there's about 1,000 lineal feet between the corner of Lancaster Parkway and Pavement Road and the corner of Pleasant View and Pavement. So this curb cut would be about 500 feet directly in the middle of those 2 intersections. The question, stormwater management agreement, we have no issues with that. We'll work with the town on that.
Can I back up 1 second?
Sure.
You have a drawing there that shows the other curb cuts on the east side of the pavement, or no?
I believe they pop in the site plan. Yes, they do show up.
Okay, I mean, those are residential ones. I think,
Correct.
And there's 1 commercial one up further for that other.
That's the residential one. That's a commercial one. These are 2 commercial ones up higher.
Okay. I was just trying to see how close your driveway was to where those one.
Yeah.
On the other side. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's a good question. A stormwater maintenance agreement we've agreed to, and we'll work with the town on that. We'll provide something shortly and work through that. Same thing with a landscape maintenance agreement. No issues with that. One of the comments was on building addresses. So it's a little more complicated than we thought. Internally, we had that discussion. We will be using a Lancaster Parkway addressing system. It just seems to make sense because it's coming off. As we go through this development, I think that's where everything wants to go, is using that main roadway that was put in. We don't have exact numbers, but that's the intention, if everybody's okay with that, is to use a Lancaster Parkway address. We'll work with the town and the post office on what makes the most sense for the numbering system. There was an issue that came up about water line easement at the corner of Walton Pavement. That's not directly related to this, but we did send over a very slightly marked up copy to Mr. Schiller there that we are agreeable to. I don't think that'll be a major issue.
No, I sent it on to the attorney's office.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see that being a problem, so we're in agreement to get that resolved and taken care of. One final one was, I know there was consideration about solar on the roofs. We did take a look at that. It does not make sense at this time for this project. That doesn't mean we won't, consider it down the road, but at this point, we are not looking to consider that.
Understood.
I think that covers everything I needed to. If I missed anything, any questions?
Any,
Just storage, right? No on-site work, nothing?
That's correct.
Okay. It's going to be monitored by the owner?
We will own, maintain, operate.
Surveillance and all of that, like they plan on having security cameras? Things
Correct. Yes.
And the lights we were talking about, right?
they have to be contained on the property.
Yep.
They have to be wall packs, and they have to show a photo.
Yeah, that all meets code, so.
Any other questions from the top? I'll just say,
Yep, so the way we are approaching that is we have a private contractor that will come in, we'll give each individual user totes. We do understand maybe long-term that's something we'll need to keep an eye on. If and when we need to go to that point, we do have an area that we can put dumpsters up in here, and we can come back for the planning, whether it's the board or the department, to get approval and screen it properly. But right now, that is not our intention to include dumpsters.
I think that was one of the other questions before. I think you gave the same answer.
Hopefully that's all right.
Any other questions from the board?
can't predict who your clients are gonna be, but what sort of client are you looking for? Like someone who just needs a space for storing themselves so they go to a job, or more of a working, building, doing stuff at that facility?
We think more of it's going to be more storage there. We're seeing, a lot of contractors right now that just, whether they have stuff in their own house and they're just overgrowing the space.
Right.
But we're not opposed to, people, you see sometimes people, maybe a woodworking shop or something out of there. It can be just about anything. We've seen, smaller workout facilities that people are using it for. So we're trying to keep it as flexible as possible just to, make it easier.
Well, the thing that I've never liked is car repair, because then we get into outside storage and tires and, so there's,
Not sure is that an allowable use? I'd have to look.
I'm not so sure I know, but it's caused problems in the past. So,
Well, I could say, we're operating and maintaining this. It's probably something we wouldn't
Yeah.
ideally like to see. If we had a car repair tenant and they were allowable use, we would oversee making sure that was
right,
kept clean
right,
and,
but,
yeah.
you're screening the use. And if it's something that Matt needs to improve, then
right.
you go to him.
Are there doors and windows in these units? I don't remember what your design showed. It looks like a garage.
Flip back. Yeah, so each one has a 14 by 12, 12 by 14 overhead door that they can pull in and out of. It has a man door as well, a typical man door. We
There's
did
no
actually,
windows.
we did update this. We are intending to put windows.
Okay.
We decided to take the windows out of the doors and add a window in this area here so that there's at least some light coming in. It's an interesting one. We've gone back and forth because you want some daylight coming in, but you want a little bit of privacy for if people are storing stuff that people can't see in and see what's in there. So one other option we are considering is maybe some clear story up high on the backside.
No, I think that'd be important to have windows. Otherwise, no offense, it looks like a storage facility.
It's kind of what it
Barracks.
is. It is a bit of a storage facility. So.
But you're saying that it's, you'd either have storage or business.
Sure.
So if there was a man door and a window, it would be more.
And that's why we are going to add some windows.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Any other questions? Ed?
Well, I just got comments this afternoon from the review. I'll be sending out additional comments tomorrow. There are still some errors in the stormwater calculations that need to be addressed.
Okay.
Emily, anything you can see from legal?
Well, it's in the product that we received the split for, right? So, we received, what was it, the 3-lot split, for the entire.
Sure. Do you want me to get into that quickly?
Yeah.
I didn't know if we want to separate the two or we just.
I'm not sure. We could potentially treat it as a separate action, but because there is a plan, I think, to build on that one already, I do think that we may need to go
Yeah.
back into seeker and have it looked at, have a long form seeker completed and just redo seeker on it, because now we know of the future project that's going to be there.
Long form seeker on the plat?
And treat the project as a type 1 action. I think, what do we have as an unlisted action before?
About the subdivision, because we did a long form for the site plan.
But that didn't take into account the subdivision. That was just submitted recently.
Correct, and my understanding is the subdivision is a minor subdivision, which should only require the short form. But we can update if that's necessary.
Yeah, because of it's the entire 120 acre parcel that would be divided. I would recommend that we go through one form.
So is there multiple seekers required? Now we're getting into the subdivision part of it, but
If we look at the project as a whole with the new application for the subdivision, it is the same parcel that we're talking about. So if we treat that as part of the same project, then we would just redo seeker before deciding on this.
That's not a major issue on our end because a lot of it's going to be the same, so.
Yeah, but it's got a, you got a 30-day period. Right?
30-day period before subdivision approval, can we get site plan approval without subdivision?
Yes, you could. And we could treat the subdivision separately. But I don't know exactly what it said, as far as the future plans, do you know what the? For just the future development.
So,
So-
just quickly give you an overview on the subdivision, that we know
Sure,
what we're
go
talking
ahead.
about.
Sure.
If you
Yeah,
just
let's-
flip to that last page. So the site plan led into conversations with Matt about having subdivided as we move forward. And I also had that conversation because we do have another tenant that's looking to potentially develop on 10 acres of this parcel as well. So it made sense to kind of combine into one. So what we're proposing is basically to subdivide for 3 parcels. The 11.34 acres, which is the highlighted area along pavement that we're talking about for this project. We have a 10-acre parcel plus or minus on the northwest side of Lancaster Parkway, and then the remaining 98 plus or minus acres, that would be the third parcel. The parcel of the 10 acres, I can't get into specifics about that tenant, other than that it is an industrial tenant user. It is a development that we would develop for them and potentially sell the piece off to.
So then a seeker would be required for that
The new one.
third parcel, or whatever you do later.
That's correct. A seeker would be required for that site plan approval as we move forward on that project. But the catch is, in order to move along with the potential sale of that parcel, we do need to get it subdivided for that approval. So that's where it kind of gets a little tricky for us to sell that parcel.
You should get it subdivided before you sell it.
That's correct. We have to. Yes, well aware. That's a requirement.
The thing came in as an industrial project, and the individual parts were never filled out. The secret review, what, 20 years ago,
Yep.
whenever it was first
Mhm.
brought in, and said, yeah, this is a good location for an industrial park, as it's called back then,
Mhm.
industrial area. And so now, every single plant that comes in, we have to do a separation of that parcel, a subdivision as it were, with a secret review. And we have to do a site plan
Correct.
for each one.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So I don't see how we can combine them. I think what I'm saying, if you already split off the parcel there, or you're gonna continue owning that.
Nothing. We are going to continue owning the 11
Okay, so there's no
acres.
subdivision of land.
Except for when we get into it, we want to, well, I think the town's going to require us to have a separate parcel for addressing purposes.
Okay.
It could technically not be a subdivision, it could be, I'm drawing a blank on the process.
Well, if
A parcel.
you're still owning the land,
Correct.
you're leasing.
You're leasing the space in the building.
Space.
Correct.
You own the land and the building, you're just
So you
leasing.
still own the land.
We still own the land,
Okay.
yes. Now, the 10-acre piece, we have to have subdivided
Because you're going
for
to
sale
sell it to
purposes.
someone else.
The 11, I'm sorry, what I meant before was that we could do a convenience split instead of a subdivision, but I think it makes more sense for everybody to subdivide these parcels as we develop them. We're open to doing it however it makes sense for everybody.
Well, you don't know how many acres the client's going to want,
That's why we take it
So you
as
have
we
to-
go.
part by part.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm a little confused, but I don't see why we need to review seeker for what we've had in front of us. You know,
Well, that is the issue, is that you did your secret review without having this information in front of you,
Subdivided.
and now it's part of this application. So seeker was done without having.
so you're afraid of
Information.
segmenting that seeker review.
Exactly.
Okay. So we have to do another one.
But the problem is, we'll need information on the second parcel.
Now, that is a problem, because
I mean, I understand the confidentiality, but there's gonna have to be information on use.
well, he can come in with a plan that shows a full build out of that parcel. And it doesn't have to.
I'm a little confused. It's a plan, but it hasn't been a plan written, right? We don't have anything in front of us. So if we do have to do a new seeker, are we talking 30-day? Based on, but we can't put it out for review because we have nothing to review, right?
Just the split of the land,
Yeah,
Yeah,
subdivision.
subdivision.
just the subdivision of
So the
land
seeker would be based on the subdivision of land.
with no building.
But we can't go anywhere without having a full seeker and site plan for that project. So I guess I'm not understanding why it wouldn't be possible to subdivide
I
that
think if
parcel.
we're seekering just the subdivision, there's not gonna be any change. There's no change.
Correct.
Then they have to come back with a plan, then we do a seeker on
They
that.
have to do it again.
Yeah, so
correct.
I don't think we put them through, I mean, personally, I don't think we put them through that. I think they have to come back for seeker. It's like, well, if we're gonna catch something, it's not gonna be now, it's gonna be then. So we're wasting everyone's time doing it twice. We wouldn't catch it, there'd be no catch right now. It's exactly the same.
A third one for the project.
Yep.
Yeah, but we have to do at least one seeker for the subdivision.
There'll be, at this rate, there'll be a total of 3. There's the one we're in right now.
The one that was already completed.
I'm sorry.
There'll be a total of 3 then. There'll be the one we're in right now, one for the subdivision, and then another one for that project, whatever it may be.
In newly divided.
In that 10-acre lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we don't need to do that third seeker now, right?
No.
No, he wouldn't do it.
That'll be done when they do the building.
Site plan application.
So that makes sense to me. You do a seeker on the 17 acres with those buildings. And then a separate seeker for the subdivision, right?
Which is
That-
what we've proposed.
Yeah, that third seeker would have to take into account everything that's proposed and or built before it.
Right. Which would come at a later date.
Later.
Yeah, yeah.
We also need, if we're subdividing, we didn't know we were subdividing at the last meeting, right?
No.
So if we're subdividing, then does this require public hearing too,
For the subdivision.
for the subdivision?
It doesn't affect the site plan approval. They can get the plan approved without having it subdivided.
We
Oh,
have an
so-
application for the subdivision, but on the agenda tonight, you're not
Right,
looking at the
okay.
subdivision.
So we're just focusing on site plan review today.
That's
correct.
So we can still move forward on that no matter what his next steps are? Is that right?
You can, yes.
Okay.
You also could require it to be treated as a type 1 action based on the information that you have, but that is up to the board.
Gotcha.
I'm not afraid of a segmentation because this site plan that's currently in front of us is not changing hands. That's, so where are we with seeker with,
The 17 acres?
this, yeah,
Seeker has been coordinated, but it was only on the 6 buildings. No consideration, there's no note that went out that would have been about the subdivision or any third lot.
Yeah, so you would do the subdivision as a totally separate project. As far as the board is concerned.
no sense.
To me, it does, the thing going. I mean, I like it, and they were accommodating to the request we made, so.
So this is the second or third appearance for the project.
Yes.
It's his first appearance for the subdivision.
Right.
Coordinated, it was an unlisted action, so the decision had to be made that if something is going to be changed with that seeker, type 1, that I refer it back to those outside agencies.
So either we keep it as it's been coordinated already as an unlisted action and treat the subdivision as a separate action, or if you want to look at the subdivision as part of this secret determination, then it would need to be changed to a type 1 action.
And that would delay any approval on this project.
Right.
Which we would obviously not prefer. I mean, look, we're being honest about everything, so I guess we could have held back on any kind of subdivision until we got site plan approval. But
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense for anybody, right? So we're trying to kind of keep this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we treat them as two separate. I mean, to keep the ball rolling for them, like I said, I mean, we're gonna do it anyway. We're not gonna not do it.
So
And
the
this keeps them
coordinator
moving.
review on the site plan
It's done.
it's done.
There's still engineering questions need to be answered.
Right, it would be conditional on the,
Well, just table
drain.
it- just table it until they're answered.
The sewer, stormwater is the calculations is the last thing,
Yeah,
the last piece?
yeah. Well, there's outside agency approvals, but they're always required prior to town board.
Matt, did I read somewhere also that something else is required for the curb cut on pavement?
When we start looking at site plans within the access management overlay district, there is a requirement for public hearing.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got two things relative to this site plan approval. And that is Ed's calculations for drainage or whatever it was.
Stormwater drainage.
And then the public hearing required for the curb cut onto pavement, is that correct?
This is as they're requesting waiver for access management.
So do they need to file anything different for that? No?
So you can set the hearing tonight.
At the hearing, but I condition that on providing the documentation for the traffic engineer that having that driveway on paper road will make sense. That's just need to get some documentation from the traffic engineer that supports that.
Understood. We can,
Okay, so if I got everything correct here, can't make a motion on it today because of the engineering, curb cut, and the required public hearing, correct? But nobody really, it doesn't sound to me like anybody on the board has any serious reservations or additions that we want to see with the actual project.
I would still love a playground in there somewhere. I don't know if it's possible. But that's, you're not there. That's not gonna defer me either way.
How long do we have to post it for the public hearing?
Well, 10 days prior to the meeting that we have. So there were a couple of questions though regarding the submittal of the, of the subdivision regarding the easement. Do we have a short form EAF that was submitted? There was $1,000 fee that was paid for it, but I didn't see it.
believe, if you didn't, I will make sure you get a copy. I believe let me follow up with that.
So I guess what I'm getting at is if they fulfill Ed's calculations, is there enough time to get it published and have the public hearing and land the plane and vote on this at the next meeting?
Yeah, I think that's plenty of time.
We would be able to get it in for a public hearing. My question would be the coordination of secret have to be done at what point the preliminary plat or.
No, we're talking about just the site.
Just a site plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, public hearings for the site plan. They need a public hearing because of the access issue.
Have it in provisional.
Did it? Yeah. Because it's an extra week this month it works.
So we're kind of iffy on site plans with that curb cut.
We should be able
You'd
to,
have to pull that together in
We can-
time for review before the
we should,
next
with,
meeting.
it sounds like we've got about a week to pull that together along with the, I tell you what, if we can't, then we know we'll have to be bumped to the following meeting. We'll do our best in the next week to get that in and try to get on that.
No, I'm just trying to expedite it if
No, we
can.
appreciate that. I'll keep that communication with Matt, and we'll do our best, and if it bleeds another extra week, then we know we got to go later in June.
It's been so many years, I'm so excited to see something come
Well,
in.
we could do even if that part's not done, though, we can still do the public hearing at the
That's
next
right.
meeting, as long as you have enough time to post it for the public hearing.
Right, you just wouldn't make a decision if you didn't have all the information.
It wouldn't mean you'd have to come back twice, or you just delay it.
It sounds like I'm coming back twice either way, right? Public hearing first week, and then approval optimistically the next week. Or unless if I get everything in time, right?
If you get it done
Okay.
and get all the paperwork in for review in time, then it sounds like the June, beginning of June,
Okay.
we might be able to do it all at once.
I wouldn't complain about
You
that,
can
yeah.
pull that.
Okay, I know the task at hand then.
Okay, so with all that being said, does anybody want to make a motion?
Yes, but I've, so, oh, just the table?
Make a motion to table until the next meeting for the public hearing, primarily the public hearing, and engineering, and then, what am I missing? No, not seeker. What was the
Have
third
we
thing?
completed our secret review for the site plan? No. No, we have,
You have to go through seeker yet.
pardon?
You have to go through seeker yet.
Yeah, we still have to go through the long form secret review. So we can do the public hearing first, then we can do the long,
Seeker.
then we can do the long form secret review on the same night as public hearing, assuming there's not a lot of comments, and if there are, we could just not do it then, if we have issues, and then site plan approval.
No, and the calculations. That was the thing I was missing.
Right, as long as everything else is done.
That has to be in before we do any of those other. So the burden's on you now because of his drainage calculations and the curb cut.
Understood.
Right?
Do you have those comments available, or?
I'll get them out to you tomorrow.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Anybody want a second?
All second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so that was the 6-building, 17-acre project.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now we've got the subdivision
Right.
project that's also on the agenda.
It's a separate item.
And the subdivision, we know, needs to also have a public hearing, correct? So
We've got to
we
wait.
can't approve it today, but we can,
We got to wait the 30 days for coordination. We haven't even sent seeker out yet for that.
okay, so we need to seeker
Public hearing
and the
first.
public hearing.
Have the public hearing first. Sometimes the public has interesting things to say. Then we address it after the coordination meeting.
But the seeker, that's like a 30-day process, right?
So that's the
Oh,
way
it hasn't
that.
been coordinated, I don't believe it's been coordinated.
Okay. So it seems.
What else do I need at this point for the subdivision? You want a long form? Yeah.
No, what was submitted? Short form.
Short
that
form
was-
is okay?
Yeah. Is that part of it? No. Okay, yeah, short form.
Okay.
Because we're gonna treat it as a separate,
Yep.
secret review, so.
Okay, so I will get that short form EAF. We will set a public hearing. It'll be a 30-day notice, so that'll most likely be the end of June.
End of June-ish,
Okay.
right? End of June, first week of July.
See, I'll be back either way. So,
We can set the public hearing when we know after the 30 days. We won't know.
well, we'd set that public hearing for the second week of June.
Do that when you come in, site plan.
Correct.
together.
Yeah, the 19th is the second meeting in June, so
Open
don't make any promises, but I think we,
June 19th, I think we had to reschedule, didn't we?
well,
I didn't bring that.
Oh, what do you need?
oh,
The
so we
date
have a
of the
meeting, yeah,
The 26th.
26th.
That should be fine.
Yeah, that should work.
That should be.
Okay, so that gives you another week.
June meetings are June 5 and June 26 on my piece
Yes.
of paper.
Yeah, they were rescheduled.
Why was that?
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth
Federal holiday.
is the 19th.
What was?
Juneteenth.
That's the third
It's a federal holiday.
Wednesday.
Oh, a holiday. You don't. Okay. Okay. So it'd be the 20.
Retirement.
Okay, so I think we know what the marching orders are, right? So really, we need a motion to table, right? Because we can't vote on it yet.
Please, yes.
Correct?
Yeah. There's no meeting first week of July, the first 4th of July, first meeting in July is gone. So we can send to get it in June 26th, or then we're into July 2nd,
Okay,
just so you know.
appreciate that.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to table for public hearing and coordination. I think that's it, right?
I'll second.
Okay, motion second. Second, All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you,
Motion carried.
appreciate the time.
See you soon.
All right.
What is with that?
It's a connection, it's not.
Somebody step on a wire or something?
Blame it on you. You're not even there.
Okay, our last item on the agenda is project number 2131, Anastasi Site Plan Review and Subdivision of 324 Pavement Road.
Jeff Palumbo and Ken Zolich here for Anastasi. Hopefully, we've given you everything that you asked for at the last meeting. We submitted the documents on April 26th, which included, as you know, site plan, subdivision map, the legal description of Ted's Quarry parcel, which is fronting on pavement after the transfer of the 100 feet, the legal description, surveys. We've given you everything. We may have given you too much. I'm not sure, but we gave you everything that we had and I think that you asked for. So just to remind you what the issue is, as I called the centerpiece, the Ted's Quarry piece, transferred property to Anastasi that fronted on pavement, which left the Ted's Quarry piece with no frontage. So we've now provided that frontage. There's 100 feet of frontage. We provided the legal description and the survey and the overall survey that combines the 100 feet with the Ted's Quarry piece. So we have provided the frontage that's required under the ordinance, and Mr. Anastasi is looking to move forward with the gravel pit shelter so that he can finally get this moving. So if you have any technical questions, I'm not going to answer them.
Okay, any questions from anybody on the board?
Finally get it. He's surprised. I couldn't.
I do have one question that Matt's brought up, and I don't know if it's going to get resolved right now or not, but Matt's question and concern about that parking area near the fact that the owner lets, well, maybe they don't let people park there, but they do let people park there. And the fact that it's a small pond with tadpoles because of the grading.
So
I don't know if anybody's willing to do anything, but Matt has brought that up as,
It's in the south.
I know this.
It's in the southeast.
it's right down there. So there's like a berm, L-shaped berm.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was supposed to be a drainage swell between the berms, or,
I don't know that anything's going to be done with it, because that's part of the parcel that we're splitting and giving back to Callbacks, so it's not our client's land anymore. That's a property that's at the south end that would have been adjacent to the former rail right of way that is now the trail.
It's an interesting
It's in
twist.
the 100 foot.
It's in the 100.
Yeah.
It's in the southeast corner.
Yeah.
This was a sand and gravel pit. I mean, it's pretty well drained. It fills up the water for a while, but then it drains
Not in
out.
that spot.
That spot holds water for a while.
I didn't see it. It's full
The
of
train's
house.
lost, people won't park there, I guess.
I guess it's a catch-22 for the town, because it is, that people are allowed to park there, but yet it, I guess all we can do is vote of it. We can't make anybody change anything, right?
Just making people aware of liability, that's all.
Just that the new old owners will be aware of the liability of it all.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly.
Somebody gets hurt on the property.
Sign or
Maybe
fence?
put a sign
Private
there.
property.
The concern is someone gets hurt, they assume it's town property, and then they're gonna be surprised when it's not. The owner's gonna be like, I wanna park there.
Put a private property,
Now,
no trespassing sign for whatever good it might be.
I mean, there is some, no trespassing signs, but they're like on top of the berm.
Is it?
You know what I mean? They're not, I don't know if you can get them that close to the road, frankly.
Yeah, I know.
You know, without getting driven in there.
Yeah.
You'd be better off putting a sign that says you're parking on private property.
It says what?
You're parking on private property.
This way it's
Yeah.
documented. You know,
Sure,
they
we
all-
can, we don't have any problem with that. Whatever you think is.
don't like the thoughts of people parking on the road.
And that's what Matt was saying.
He said, but man, I use that bike path a lot, and it's, coming down that rise,
Okay, so if there's no other questions, then I guess we can, if somebody wants to make a motion, vote on.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Larry seconds. On the motion, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay? Motion carried.
We'll need the subdivision.
What's that?
That motion was for site plan?
Yes.
We need the subdivision.
site plan for the,
Did we have a vote? Did we need two different on the agenda? Or no?
Site plan review and stuff.
Subdivision.
Oh, okay.
I'll amend the motion to include both subdivision and site plan. If we can.
And I'll second.
Okay. Motion on the table. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Here. Thank you. Good luck, guys. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, any other items that the board would like to discuss? Mr. Schiller? Emily?
No.
Mr. Matt?
No pressure, but is there an ETA on the new forms? The new application forms? I'd like to use, I'd like to start uploading them onto our website, and handing them out, because we're still using the older ones. I mean, if that's the final one, PDF version of it, and then, okay, it'll be tomorrow morning as last Friday. Very good, thank you.
Okay,
The other project on,
that one got canceled.
oh,
Get off. Okay, anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carried.
Talking about broken speakers there.
Yeah.
It's not used to that.
I don't know what
aggression.
that,
I can't figure it out if it's upstairs or, what could it be?
It's one of these is connected.
Right.
It's like not all the way. It's got to be.
I missed half the conversation.
But the second gavel.
put this
fixed
away
it.
before I hurt somebody.
Okay.
The first gavel broke it. The second gavel fixed it. It's done. I think lock that drawer, Rebecca. I mean.